You're trapped. We all are. Look up at the night sky, at that sprawling, glittering expanse of darkness, and tell me what you see. Most people see endless possibility. They see a frontier waiting to be conquered, a universe teeming with worlds that are just waiting for our flags and our footprints. But that is a lie. That is a comforting fiction we tell ourselves to stave off the crushing reality of our situation. When you look at the stars, you are not looking at a destination. You're looking at the bars of a cage. A prison cell so vast that the human mind cannot even comprehend the distance from one wall to the other. And the warden of this prison is the laws of physics themselves, specifically the speed of light. For over a century we have accepted the absolute tyranny of c, 299,792,458 meters per second. That is the limit. It is the cosmic speed limit enforced by the fabric of reality itself. According to Einstein and the standard model that has governed our understanding of the universe for generations, nothing with mass can ever reach this speed, let alone exceed it. To do so would require infinite energy. It would require breaking the fundamental causality of the universe. It would mean arriving before you left. It would mean shattering the glass that separates the present from the future, and because of this limit, we are stranded. Think of Voyager 1, the fastest object humanity has ever thrown into the void. It has been travelling for nearly 50 years. It is screaming through the dark at 38,000 miles per hour. That sounds fast. But on the cosmic scale, it is standing still. At its current speed, it would take Voyager over 70,000 years just to reach the nearest star, Proxima Centauri. 70,000 years. That is not exploration. That is archaeology. It means that if we are bound by the speed of light, we are an island civilization, destined to live and die around a single mediocre yellow star, never knowing what lies in the dark ocean beyond. But what if the rules changed? What if the warden fell asleep at his post? Headlines have been circulating recently, quiet at first, then rising to a fever pitch in the theoretical physics community. A new paper, a new model, a claim that sounds like science fiction but is rooted in the hard, cold mathematics of general relativity. Scientists have introduced a mechanism, not a vague theory but a mathematical blueprint, for a propulsion system that does not just approach the speed of light, it does not just match it, it exceeds it, by a factor of 10 times the speed of light. 10c. Do you understand the implications of that number? At 10c, Proxima Centauri is not 70,000 years away. It is 5 months away. At 10c, we could reach the centre of the Milky Way within a human lifetime. It changes everything. It turns the prison into a playground. But here is the part the press releases aren't telling you. Here is the part that keeps the astrophysicists awake at night, staring at their whiteboards with a mixture of awe and absolute terror. If we can travel 10 times faster than light, we're not just moving through space. We are doing something to space. And space, as it turns out, might not like being touched. To understand the danger and the sheer visceral horror of what this technology implies, we have to strip away the Star Trek fantasies and look at the mechanics of the universe as they truly are. We have to look at the fabric, picture a trampoline. This is the classic analogy, but I want you to visualize it differently. Imagine a trampoline made of invisible, tightly woven silk stretched infinitely in all directions. This is space-time. When you place a bowling ball in the center, our sun, the silk curves down. That curve is gravity. When you roll a marble past it, Earth, it follows the curve. That is orbit. Now traditional propulsion, rockets, ion thrusters, solar sails, is like an ant crawling across that silk. The ant has to traverse every single millimeter of the thread. It pushes against the surface to move forward. As it gets faster and faster, approaching the speed of light, the silk begins to resist. The ant becomes heavier, the energy required to push it forward spikes toward infinity. This is the barrier. You cannot push through the silk faster than the silk's own tension allows vibrations to travel. So, how do you break the rule? You don't. You cheat. In 1994, a Mexican theoretical physicist named Miguel Alcubierre proposed a solution that looked like madness. He looked at Einstein's field equations and realized that while matter cannot travel faster than light through space, space itself can expand and contract at any speed it wants. Space has no mass. Space has no speed limit. We know this because, in the first fraction of a second after the Big Bang, the universe itself expanded faster than light. Alcubierre proposed a warp drive, but don't let the pop culture name fool you. This is a violent manipulation of reality. The idea is to create a bubble of flat space around a spaceship. Inside the bubble, you are floating still. You feel no acceleration. Your coffee doesn't spill. But outside the bubble, you use massive amounts of energy to contract the space in front of you and expand the space behind you. Imagine you're standing on a carpet. You want to reach the wall, but you can't walk. So you grab the carpet in front of you and pull it towards you, bunching it up. Simultaneously, you push the carpet behind you, smoothing it out. You haven't moved relative to the carpet under your feet, but you have moved across the room. You're surfing a wave of distorted geometry. For decades, this was just a mathematical curiosity, a nice to have. The reason? To make it work, you needed something called negative energy or exotic matter. You needed matter with negative mass to push the space apart behind you. Negative mass is not antimatter. It is something else entirely. It is a substance that falls up in gravity, a substance that, if you pushed it, would accelerate towards your hand. It is physical nonsense. It shouldn't exist. And if it doesn't exist, the Alcubierre drive is a dead end. We were safe. The cage remained locked. But the new discovery, the new model that has just dropped, it removes the need for negative energy. That is the breakthrough. That is the anomaly. A team of researchers has proposed a soliton solution, a self-reinforcing wave packet that maintains its shape while propagating at constant velocity. They discovered that by configuring the geometry of the warp bubble in a very specific hypercomplex structure, you can achieve the contraction and expansion using positive energy. Ordinary mass, the stuff we have, the stuff we are made of, they call it a hypersoliton class drive. It essentially allows a ship to grab the fabric of the universe and rack it like a shotgun slide. Suddenly the math works. The energy requirements are still astronomical, perhaps the mass energy equivalent of a planet like Jupiter, but they are finite. They are no longer impossible. We have moved from fantasy to engineering problem, and humans are terrifyingly good at solving engineering problems. But there is a silence in the room when these papers are discussed. There is a hesitation, because when you look at the equations for a drive travelling at 10c, you start to see side effects. We always imagined that breaking the light barrier would look like a streak of stars, a blur of motion. Beautiful, elegant. But the simulation data suggests something far more violent. Consider the interstellar medium. Space is not truly empty. It is filled with thin gas, dust, cosmic rays, and stray photons. When you're moving at normal speeds, these are harmless. But when you are moving at 10 times the speed of light, you are not just hitting dust. You're impacting particles that, relative to you, are travelling at superluminal velocities. The warp bubble does not just slide through space, it ploughs it. It sweeps up every photon, every electron, every atom in its path. And because of the extreme distortion of gravity at the leading edge of the bubble, the wall of the wave, these particles get trapped. They don't bounce off, they get caught in the gravitational crush. As the ship travels, it builds up a layer of high-energy particles on the nose of the bubble. It accumulates them. Gamma rays, X-rays, high-energy protons. The longer you travel, the more you collect. You're essentially building a spear tip of pure, concentrated death. And here is the first crack in the dream. When you arrive at your destination, when you stop the ship and the warp bubble collapses, where does all that energy go? It doesn't disappear. It has to be released. According to the new calculations, decelerating from 10c to 0 creates a shock wave, a directional blast of high-energy gamma radiation released directly forward from the ship. Do you understand? To visit a planet, you have to aim your ship at it. You engage the drive. You cross the void in a matter of weeks. You arrive, and the moment you hit the brakes, you unleash a planet-sterilizing burst of radiation upon your destination. We are not building explorers. We are building shotguns. The very act of arrival is an act of annihilation. But that is just the physical danger. That is just the radiation. That is something we can perhaps shield against, or aim away from the target. The real horror lies deeper. It lies in what happens inside the bubble during transit. The new proposal suggests that while the ship is shielded from the outside universe, it is not causally disconnected. At 10C, you're outrunning your own image. You're outrunning the light that left your ship a moment ago. But inside the bubble, quantum fluctuations, the tiny, random jitters of energy that exist in a vacuum, are being stretched and amplified by the horizon of the warp shell. Hawking radiation. We usually talk about Hawking radiation in the context of black holes, energy escaping the event horizon. But a warp bubble has horizons. It has a front horizon and a back horizon. And because the temperature of this radiation is linked to the intensity of the warp, at 10C, the interior of the bubble begins to glow, not with visible light, with heat, with pure, unadulterated thermal energy. The equations imply that the faster you go, the hotter the bubble gets. At 10 times the speed of light, the crew inside the ship isn't looking out at the stars. They are being cooked. The vacuum around the ship begins to boil. The safe harbour of flat space in the centre becomes a kiln. So now we have a drive that requires the energy of a planet, destroys whatever it aims at upon arrival, and incinerates its crew during the journey, and yet the scientists are celebrating. Why? Because the math says it's possible. They are ignoring the warning signs, they are looking at the technical feasibility and ignoring the existential threat. It reminds me of the first time we split the atom. We worried, briefly, that we might ignite the atmosphere. We did it anyway. But there is one final variable in this new equation, one that hasn't made the headlines, one that is buried deep in the appendices of the source paper, dismissed as a topological anomaly. When the warp bubble exceeds C, it creates a closed time-like curve at the edges of the field. This is fancy physics talk for a time loop, but it's not a loop you can travel through. It's a tear. The simulation shows that as the ship pushes past the light barrier, the space behind it doesn't just expand, it snaps. The recovery of the fabric isn't instant. We assume space-time is elastic, like rubber. But what if at these stress levels it behaves like glass? If the fabric fractures, we aren't just leaving a wake behind us. We are leaving a scar, a region of space where the laws of physics have been permanently broken, a trail of dead space where gravity no longer works, where light cannot propagate. Imagine a ship travelling from Earth to Mars at 10C. It doesn't just get there fast, it cuts a wound through the solar system, a jagged line of non-reality that lingers long after the ship is gone, and we have no idea what lives in the cracks. We have spent thousands of years staring at the wall of our prison, looking for a way out. Now we have found a sledgehammer. We are poised to smash the wall. But we have never stopped to ask what is pressing against the other side. We assume the universe is passive. We assume it is indifferent. But the sheer resistance of space to superluminal travel, the energy requirements, the radiation, the heat, the instability, it almost feels like an immune response. It feels like the universe is trying to stop us, like the speed of light isn't just a limit, but a quarantine line, and we are about to breach it. The paper is published, the theory is sound, the race to build the prototype has already begun in the quiet labs of military contractors and private space firms. They call it the breakthrough of the millennium. I call it the knock on the door that we should never have answered. Because when you travel 10 times faster than light, you're not just moving through space, you're moving through the blind spot of God. Let's assume we solve the radiation problem. Let's assume we find a way to shield the crew from the boiling vacuum, and we figure out how to disperse the gamma-ray shockwave so we don't sterilize the planets we are trying to visit. We build the ship, we strap ourselves in, we engage the hypersoliton drive. What happens next is not a journey, it is a disappearance. When you hit the button, you don't feel acceleration. That's the magic of the warp bubble. The ship isn't moving, the space around it is. But your eyes tell a different story. A story that the human brain is not wired to process. As you cross the threshold of a light speed, 1c, the universe in front of you doesn't streak, it shrinks. It's called relativistic beaming. The entire field of view ahead of you, all the stars, galaxies and nebulae, begin to bunch up into a single, blindingly bright point of light directly in the center of your vision. It looks like a tunnel closing. Behind you, the universe expands, fading into a perfect absolute black. You're no longer traveling through the cosmos, you know. You're travelling through a hallway of your own making, blinded by the concentrated brilliance of every photon you are smashing into, and pursued by a darkness that nothing can escape. But at 10c, 10 times the speed of light, something else happens. The light ahead of you shifts out of the visible spectrum. It goes ultraviolet, then X-ray, then gamma. The view screen goes black. The rear view is already black. You're floating in a void of total sensory deprivation. No stars, no reference points, just the hum of the reactor and the knowledge that you are traversing the distance between Earth and Mars every 45 seconds. And this is where the physics gets personal. This is where the universe stops being a landscape and starts acting like a machine that knows you are breaking the rules. To understand why this is terrifying, you have to understand what the speed of light actually is. We call it a speed, but that is a misnomer. It isn't just about how fast photons travel. It is the speed of causality. It is the maximum speed at which one event in the universe can affect another event. It is the refresh rate of reality. Think of the universe like a massive multiplayer video game. The server has a tick rate, a speed at which it updates the position of players and bullets. That tick rate is c. If you try to move faster than the server can update, you don't. Just move fast, you glitch, you start teleporting, you break the logic of the game. In our reality, this glitch is called a closed time-like curve. Here is the analogy I want you to burn into your mind. Imagine you are sending a letter to a friend. You write it, you stamp it, you mail it. 3 days later, they receive it. Cause and effect. Simple. Now, imagine you have a plane that flies faster than the speed of causality. You write the letter, you fly it to your friend. But because of the geometry of space-time and the way time dilates when you move this fast, you arrive yesterday. You hand them the letter before you wrote it. This sounds like fun science fiction until you realise the implication. If you can arrive before you leave, you can stop yourself from leaving. You can shoot the tyres of your plane. You can kill your past self. This is the grandfather paradox. We treat it like a philosophical puzzle. But to the universe, it is a fatal error. It is a logical contradiction that cannot exist. The universe must have a history. It must be consistent. A cause is B. B cannot cause A. So, what happens when we build a machine, this 10c warp drive, that is essentially a paradox generator? Stephen Hawking proposed an answer. He called it the chronology protection conjecture. It is a polite way of saying that the universe has an immune system. Hawking suggested that whenever a closed time-like curve is about to form, whenever you are about to break the causal chain, the laws of physics will conspire to stop you, not with a policeman, but with a catastrophe. The probability of accidental failure approaches 100%. Imagine you are about to turn the key on the warp drive. A circuit blows. You fix it. You try again. A cooling pipe bursts. You fix it. You try again. A micrometeoroid hits the hull. It's not bad luck. It is the universe rewriting probability to prevent the paradox. The universe will destroy the machine, the pilot, or the entire planet if it has to, just to keep the timeline consistent. We see hints of this in quantum mechanics. Virtual particles pile up on the horizon of a time loop, creating a feedback loop of energy, like a microphone held too close to a speaker. The screech becomes infinite. The energy density becomes infinite. The drive implodes. So by building a ship that goes 10c, we're essentially building a bomb that is triggered by the fabric of reality itself. We're trying to force a glitch, and the server is going to crash us to protect the system. But let's go deeper. Let's say we are arrogant. Let's say we think we can outsmart Hawking. We think we can stabilize the loop. We engage the drive. We are now moving at 10 times the speed of causality. We are now ghosts. We are travelling faster than the gravitational information of our own mass. We are invisible to the universe until we arrive. We are cutting through the bulk of space-time like a scalpel. And this brings us to the dark forest. You have heard of the Fermi paradox. If the universe is so old and so vast, where is everybody? Why is the sky silent? There are many theories. Maybe they are dead. Maybe they are hiding. But the 10c drive offers a new, horrifying explanation. Imagine a pond. It is perfectly still. You're a water strider sitting on the surface. You can feel the tiniest ripple from a predator on the other side of the pond. Vibration is information. Now, imagine a speedboat tears through the pond at 60 miles per hour. It creates a massive, chaotic wake. It disrupts the entire ecosystem. It announces its presence to everything living in that water. A warp drive is that speedboat. When you compress space in front of you and expand it behind you at superluminal speeds, you're creating gravitational Cherenkov radiation. You're sending out intense, high-frequency gravitational waves. We just started detecting gravitational waves on Earth a few years ago. They're faint whispers from colliding black holes billions of light years away. But a warp drive? A warp drive operating at 10C would be a scream. It would be the loudest thing in the galaxy. If there is anyone, or anything, out there listening, turning on this drive is not just exploration. It is ringing the dinner bell. It effectively says, here is a civilization that has reached the maturity to manipulate space-time. We are here. We are juicy. And we are likely trapped in a single solar system because we haven't mastered the tech yet. This might explain the silence. Maybe the reason we don't see other civilizations zip-zopping around the stars at 10C is because the moment you turn on the engine, something comes for you. Maybe the speed of light isn't a limit imposed by physics. Maybe it's a speed limit imposed by a predator, a no-wake zone, enforced by the oldest, coldest intelligences in the cosmos. And we have already turned the key. Remember the anomaly I mentioned in part 1? The new math that allows for positive energy warp drives? There is a detail about the discovery that has been kept out of the mainstream press. The researchers didn't just derive the math from scratch. They found the solution by analysing data sets from deep space. They were looking at fast radio bursts, those mysterious high-energy flashes that hit Earth every once in a while from distant galaxies. For years, we thought they were magnetars, stars with powerful magnetic fields. But when they applied the new Soliton model to the signal data of a specific burst detected 3 years ago, the pattern matched. The signal wasn't natural. It had the precise topological signature of a hypersoliton collapse. Someone else, in a galaxy 3 billion light-years away, fired up an engine just like the one we're building. That sounds like hope, doesn't it? It proves it's possible. It proves the tech works. Except for one thing. The signal was a burst, a single, catastrophic release of energy, and then silence. We have watched that spot in the sky for 3 years. No follow-up signal, no arrival, no return trip, just a scream, and then the dark. We are looking at the wreckage of a civilization that tried exactly what we are about to do. They broke the seal, they triggered the causality protection, or they summoned the hunters, or they simply tore their own star system apart with the gravitational shear. And we are looking at that wreckage and saying, let's try it ourselves. The prototype is scheduled for a test run in the particle accelerator at CERN next year. Not a full ship, just a microscopic warp bubble, a test of the concept, a tiny ripple in the pond. But if the dark forest theory is right, size doesn't matter. The frequency does. We're about to strike a match in a room filled with gasoline vapor just to see if it glows. And as we prepare to light that match, we have to ask ourselves a question that no physicist can answer with an equation. When you travel fast enough to outrun your own shadow, what takes its place? Let's zoom out. Way out. Let's imagine that our arrogance is justified. Let's imagine we build the ships, we survive the radiation, we dodge the paradoxes, and the dark forest turns out to be empty. We survive the launch. We enter the era of expansion. With the 10C drive, humanity explodes outwards. It is not a migration, it is a detonation. In 1,000 years, we have not just colonized Mars or the Moon. We have seeded the entire Orion arm of the galaxy. We are on thousands of worlds. We are mining nebulae. We are drinking from the gravity wells of black holes. We have become the gods we always wanted to be. But there is a catch. There is always a catch. When you shatter the distance barrier, you shatter something else. Unity. At 10C, the human species does not remain human. Imagine a colony established on a planet 500 light-years away. The journey takes 50 years of ship time. They arrive, they build, they grow. But because of the time dilation, effects and the sheer vastness of the separation, they're cut off. Communication is impossible. Even at light speed, a message takes 500 years to return. A hello sent today receives a reply when your great-great-great-grandchildren are dead. There is no internet. There is no central government. There is no shared culture. Each colony becomes a petri dish, evolving in isolation. On a heavy gravity world, humans become squat, dense, and slow. On a rogue planet in the dark, they lose their eyes and communicate through thermal pulses. On a water world, they gene edit themselves into something aquatic. In the span of a few millennia, a blink of an eye for the universe, humanity ceases to exist. We fracture into 1,000 different alien species, all unrecognizable to one another. And what happens when these species meet again? They don't see brothers, they see monsters. They see competition for resources. The 10C drive doesn't unite the galaxy, it turns it into a slaughterhouse. Wars are fought not over land, but over entire star systems. Weapons are deployed that don't just kill cities, but destabilize stars. We didn't escape the cage. We just made the cage bigger, and we filled it with more dangerous animals, ourselves. But this is still thinking too small. This is still just biological horror. The true, final horror. The one that keeps the oldest cosmologists staring into their whiskey at 3 a.m. is structural. It brings us back to the fabric, the silk. Remember the scar? The idea that a warp drive damages space-time? Let's look at the biggest mystery in modern physics, dark energy. We know the universe is expanding, but it's not just coasting from the Big Bang. It is accelerating. Something is pushing the galaxies apart faster and faster. We don't know what it is. We just call it dark energy and shrug. It makes up 68% of the universe, and we have no idea what it does, other than stretch reality until it snaps. Here is the twist. The theory that no one wants to write down. What if dark energy isn't natural? What if it is exhaust? Think about the Fermi paradox again. If the universe has produced millions of civilizations over billions of years, and if the natural endpoint of technology is the warp drive, then billions of civilizations have been revving these engines for eons. Every time a ship engages a warp drive, it expands the space behind it. It adds a tiny, microscopic amount of new volume to the universe. It stretches the fabric. One ship, negligible. 1 billion ships, over 1 billion years. We are looking at a universe that is being torn apart by the traffic. The accelerating expansion of the cosmos might be the cumulative damage of every civilization that ever tried to leave its home. We are heating the atmosphere of the universe. We are causing cosmic global warming. And the end point of this expansion is known. It is called the Big Rip. Eventually, the expansion becomes so fast that gravity can't hold galaxies together. Then it rips stars apart, then planets. And finally, in the last fraction of a second, the expansion force overcomes the electromagnetic force holding your atoms together. You simply unspool. By chasing the stars, we are hastening the death of the very stage we stand on. We are like termites eating the frame of our own house, because we want to see the outside, and we might be the last ones left. Maybe the reason we don't see anyone else is that they already realized this. They hit the 10C barrier, saw the damage they were doing to the structure of reality, and they stopped. They retreated. They chose to stay on their islands, trapped by the speed of light, because the alternative was suicide for the entire universe. Or they didn't stop. And the voids in space, those massive regions of nothingness hundreds of millions of light years across, are the blast craters of civilizations that went too fast, too hard, and shattered their local reality entirely. We are standing on the precipice of this decision. The prototype at CERN is almost ready. The papers are published. The funding is secured. We are driven by curiosity, by the need to explore, by the desperate hunger to escape our dying rock. It is a noble drive. It is the most human thing about us. But the universe is not human. It is indifferent. It has rules, and the speed of light is the most important rule of all. It is not a challenge. It is a load-bearing wall. So the next time you look up at the night sky, do not look for the destination. Do not wish upon a star. Be thankful for the silence. Be thankful for the distance. Be thankful that the stars are so terribly, terribly far away. Because the distance is the only thing keeping us safe from ourselves. We are children playing with a chemistry set in the basement of a wooden house. We have just found the mixture that makes the prettiest, brightest flame, and we are so excited to light it, we have no idea that the house is already burning. Good night.